When you see the scene in Breckenridge this afternoon, you can understand why the police told the entire town, be ready to evacuate. A fortunate shift of the wind and calmer gusts helped firefighters, and a little more than an hour later, a dramatic difference. Still, the situation is far from safe tonight. This is what Peak 7 residents and guests were facing earlier today. Those fast-moving flames led the governor to get the National Guard ready to help and activate the state's Emergency Operations Center.
Fire created this huge plume of smoke, and some of what is left is going to be settling down overnight into parts of Summit County. The smoke plume could easily be seen from Frisco and back to the divide along I-70. So while the threat is lessened from its peak this afternoon, the evacuations have not been lifted over the concern that this 84-acre fire could flare back up with the heat of tomorrow morning. 9 News reporter Eddie Randall is up in Breckenridge keeping an eye on things for us and talking with emergency managers. Eddie?
Authorities tell us that fire is still burning tonight, Kyle, and firefighters anticipate the wind and heat to pick back up tomorrow. So for now, mandatory evacuations for 463 homes in the Peak 7 area remain in effect. Just after 11 this morning, a man mountain biking in the area spotted smoke and reported the fire. It's in a heavy forest with a lot of beetle kills, so the dead trees gave it plenty of fuel. Around 2 this afternoon, the fire was spreading quickly, so they decided it was necessary to order those evacuations. As for the fire laying down as quickly as it did, firefighters say weather gets the credit.
We would like to take credit for that, but we're going to have to give credit to the wind because when the wind did shift, it actually pushed the fire back into the burned area and it slowed it down.
Police allowed people in the evacuated areas to go home and get a few things, but they can't sleep there tonight. Around 50 residents were at the evacuation center earlier, but they all have places to stay for the night, so that shelter will close and reopen in the morning. Many people in the area just stood and watched something they say they don't see often.
Completely surprising. I've never seen a forest fire, so it's when you see it in real life, it's awfully scary. It's dry, so yeah, if this turns into one of those fire seasons where it's dry and we don't get enough rain, then yeah, it's going to be a little bit scary.
At this point, mandatory evacuations for those residents in Peak 7 will stay in effect until tomorrow at noon, and they're going to have crews monitoring the situation throughout the night, Kyle.
All right, Eddie Randall for us in Summit County. Thank you, Eddie.
Turns out we can now say there are 2 fires burning near Breckenridge. They evacuated the Peak 7 neighborhood. The entire town of Breckenridge is being warned to be ready to evacuate, which has to be getting old by now because this is the 3rd day in a row they've had the whole town on alert like that. 9 News reporter Nelson Garcia is live in Breckenridge. And Nelson, that second fire, you said it started small. Has it stayed that way?
It has actually, Brandon. This second fire started in a location which is far from the Peak 2 fire, which sits in this direction from downtown Breckenridge. The fire on Baldy Mountain started over here in this direction, which is located about 3 miles southeast of Breckenridge. Although it seems like this fire has died down, it only grew to about half an acre, so it seems like this danger is dissipating. But despite all of this, business and tourism in Breckenridge continue as normal. Looking around town,
we are in the middle of our season right now.
The threat of fire is not so obvious for workers like Josh Gold.
Guys, welcome to the canteen.
He's as busy as always at this Breckenridge eatery, greeting customer after customer.
Oh, Jiminy Christmas.
As if the fire wasn't there.
Town business was going on as usual, which was pretty wild with that threat being so close.
But when you look, it's pretty hard to see smoke, especially from town. And as rain started to fall this afternoon, hopes went up.
Loving it. Get that rain rolling in here. We've been on such a drought lately, you know.
So we have time to go slow, be very, very deliberate.
Incident Commander Todd Pachota is telling residents that the weather is helping, and firefighters were able to build a fire line around more than half of the Peak 2 fire.
And the reason that other work has not been called contained yet, quite frankly, is because I'm scared we're going to get somebody killed. Okay? Not from the fire, but from trees falling over.
Same options as a pork sandwich?
It's clear Gold is not the only one working, but what he really wants is just to go home.
Kind of scary at first, you know, especially since I live up on Peak 7.
He's been evacuated for 3 days now, hoping he can get back to business as usual.
There and be able to unload all my belongings again and, you know, get life rolling again.
3 fire engines and a helicopter attacked the fire on Baldy Mountain, and that appears to have had some effect as fire officials have lifted their pre-evacuation order in that neighborhood, so they believe that the danger of that fire has since disappeared. As far as the Peak 2 fire, it still burns, but the incident commander is working on a plan to try to get evacuated residents back home as quickly as possible, though, Brandon, no timetable has been set for that as of yet.
All right, we'll hope for more progress. Nelson Garcia, thanks.
A man who mistook his adult son for an intruder told deputies that he shot and killed him. 58-year-old Frank Leon Hooner was arrested on suspicion of second-degree murder. In court today, the judge ruled that he could be released on $50,000 bond. A sheriff's spokeswoman said that Hooner identified the victim as his son. 9 Wants to Know found out leading up to this weekend shooting in Sedalia, the relationship between the father and the son was strained. Douglas County deputies say Frank Hooner shot and killed his son Nicholas at the home Saturday night, thinking he was an intruder. 9 Wants to Know found court records showing that Nicholas had threatened to kill his parents last fall. Nicholas, the son, was also facing arson charges for destroying his father's mountain home.
So here we are out at the beautiful Colorado Freedom Memorial, a glass-walled monument that honors all Colorado veterans killed in action since we became a state. Just over 6,000 names on the memorial. Over half of them never came back home, so there's no gravesite for a family to grieve, so they come here. Even if we just take a few moments out of our day, every now and then, to come out here and sit and just go, man, that there were people that thought that much about their country and freedom, that they were willing to do this for me. So this morning, I came out here to tidy up, as I do a lot of mornings, and I came up and around the corner and got a few feet away and noticed that something wasn't right. The one panel just had a different shine to it, and then I got up to it and noticed that it was completely shattered. I mean, completely shattered, and my heart just sunk. There's an obvious impact point on the glass, so it's apparent that something hit it pretty forcefully. The panel that was shattered is the smallest glass panel on the memorial, and it's $40,000. You believe in the good of people, you believe that it's going to be safe, that people will understand what it is and what it represents and won't touch it, but that belief was shattered this morning along with the panel. This won't stop what we do. This will only further encourage me to get after it. There's some families it's a little harder for them to celebrate this weekend. They'll be proud that the reason we celebrate is because of their loved one's sacrifice, but always keep them a little close, right next to the potato salad.
Aurora police are investigating the damage at the Colorado Freedom Memorial. APD and Crime Stoppers are each offering rewards of up to $2,000 for information that leads to an arrest. Think about that. $4 grand to make a phone call and lose a friend you shouldn't have anyway.
Living in this beautiful state, we know we share the outdoors with animals, lots of them. One we need to be aware of this time of year, rattlesnakes. Their bites are painful and survivable if you know what to do. A man in Westminster did. He talked to 9 News reporter Eddie Randall before leaving the hospital today.
I was walking with my girlfriend and my dog through a dog park.
Donald Lowe thought that would be the excitement in his day.
And next thing I knew, I felt something was stinging me. It felt like a wasp sting. And I looked down and I had 2 puncture wounds on my leg. And we looked on the ground and there was a snake slithering away.
The first thing he did was call 911.
Paramedic showed up within 5 minutes.
He was rushed to the hospital for treatment.
Got numb right around the area here, the bite. Then it got a little bit red. My lips started to, and nose started to get numb like you're at the dentist and have an injection. The pain started to increase.
Doctors gave him an anti-venom to combat the reaction to the bite.
It was just, my face was moving and I wasn't doing anything.
This year we've had 3 rattlesnake bites.
Dr. Daniel Fong with Good Samaritan Medical Center says if you're bitten, the best thing you can do is not get rattled.
Just sit down and try and relax and have someone call 911 or call yourself and then wait for the paramedics to arrive.
Which is exactly what Lowe did, although he has some training.
I've worked in surgery for 40+ years, so I kind of know what to do.
He also knows what not to do.
I didn't ice it. I didn't try to cut between the 2 bite marks and suck out the poison. 1, I can't reach it, but 2, it wouldn't work.
He says normally he is always looking at his surroundings, but now he'll look even harder.
I'll be more cautious and I'll carry a big stick.